Hello crafty friends, it's Jessica here and welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. In today's video, I am going to be doing a project share for a card inspired by a recent impulse buy I had at the craft store. So maybe a week or two ago, I was at Michael's. I went in to buy a Copic marker, but while I was walking the aisles, I got distracted by these. These are some adorable little clay hearts that look like conversation candies, and as soon as I saw them I knew I wanted them because I mean they're adorable. Look at these. So I decided to pick them up, especially since I have my first craft show of the year coming up. It is the Colony Pool Valentine's Day Market. For anyone who is local to the Hampton Roads area in Virginia, I will have the information linked below, but it's going to be in Newport News. And this is actually a craft fair that I've taken you guys to before. It was where I did my first vlog. If you guys would like me to vlog this craft fair as well, I'm more than happy to. It is an outdoor show, which I know I've told y'all I mostly do indoor shows, and I really do. It just so happens that the last 3 have all been outdoor shows. But if you want me to vlog this one, let me know in the comments that you'd like to see it. Okay, so since I picked these up, I figured I should make a card with them while they're fresh and new and exciting and still on my mind, especially since I need cards for this Valentine's Day market. So I'm going to flip this camera around and we're going to get into the different supplies I used and the techniques I used to make this card. So here is the card and the matching envelope. I am so happy with how this turned out. So let's get into what I used to make it. So as you guys know, the inspiration for this card was these adorable clay hearts. So I went through my stash and I just looked for items that would fit that kind of heart, love, Valentine's Day theme. And there were 2 main items that caught my eye. The first was this embossing folder. I picked this up from Michael's years and years and years ago, but any kind of heart themed folder would work. Quick disclaimer for this video, most of the supplies I'm going to show you are things that have been in my stash for a long time, so they are retired. So you probably are not going to be able to recreate this card exactly, but I hope it gives you some inspiration and maybe a jumping off point on how you can use items in your stash to build a similar card. Okay, so that was step 1. I grabbed the embossing folder. And then the other item that jumped out to me was this die set from Concord and 9th called All the Love Dies. It also has a stamp set that coordinates with it, but I was just interested in the dies today. I liked this heart and I liked this little sentiment that says love. So I grabbed a piece of cardstock, a piece of red cardstock. This is 3.5 by 4 3/4, I believe. And the first thing I did was use the heart from the die set to cut out the window for the shaker card. Once the heart was cut out of the panel, I kept it, so I'll do something with this later for another card, I'm sure. Once that was cut out, then I took that panel and I ran it through the embossing folder. Anytime you're going to cut and emboss, you always want to cut first and then emboss. If you do it the other way around, we would have added all this texture to the panel, and then when I went to die cut out the heart, it would have flattened everything out. So you always die cut first and then use the embossing folder. So once I had the panel that was embossed, I added a piece of acetate to create the clear window for the shaker card. And then I put foam all around the outside and filled it up with my shaker bits. For the shaker bits, I used these clay hearts that I got at Michael's. They're so adorable. And I decided I wanted to add some extra sparkle and interest. So I also grabbed a kind of clear, chunky glitter. I really like this stuff. But use, again, whatever's in your stash. It would have been really cute if you had used like pink or red glitter or anything like that too. Or maybe the color of the little clay hearts. But these are what I chose to use. And then I closed off my shaker panel by putting a piece of pink cardstock behind everything. I believe that exact shade of pink is, I want to say Concord and 9th Honeysuckle. But the exact colors you'd use don't really matter as long as you have a color scheme that you really like and fits the occasion. Okay, so once I had the shaker panel made, it was time to move on to the sentiment for the card. Now, at first, I thought the card was just going to say love. So I took this love die and I cut it out, I think 4 times. I stacked up 4 together. So it's super dimensional. I hope you can see that. But there's some nice stacked die cut dimension. I love to do that with sentiments on cards. I think it's a great way to add some interest and texture to your card. But I kind of tested it out on the card and I decided I wanted it to have a sub-sentiment. So I looked through my stash. I wanted to see if I had anything that used the word sweet, since these are, you know, they look like little conversation heart candies. I wanted to lean into that theme. When I looked through my stash, what I was able to find was this very, very, very old stamp set. I want to say I picked this up at AC Moore a very long time ago, but it had a couple sentiments with the word sweet, and I thought "You Are the Sweetest" worked perfect with the little candy hearts, so that's what I went with. I decided I wanted it to be embossed, so it would be raised and glossy, but I don't have red embossing powder. So instead, I took the sentiment and I stamped it 2 times in red ink. I think I used Concord and 9th Poppy ink. And then I stamped over it once with clear Versamark ink. And then I sprinkled clear embossing powder over the top. And that gave me this shiny red sentiment. That is a great tip anytime you want a particular color of embossing powder that you don't have. Stamp it in the color of ink you do have and then just clear emboss over the top. I really like how that came out. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, you guys. I don't know how well the camera is picking it up, but I did put a little bit of ink blending on the bottom of this red panel. I just used a dark red ink, so it has like a slight ombre. You can see it in person, but I don't think the camera is doing a great job of really picking up that ombre of the ink. Okay, so once I had the shaker panel and the sentiments on it, then I was going to pop this onto a card base. Initially, I was just going to pop it onto a white card base, but I thought the background looked a little bit boring. So instead, I grabbed an embossing folder. The particular embossing folder I used was, I will have to look up the name of it, but it's this embossing folder from Spellbinders that has these really fun scallops. Again, I just wanted something that would create interest, so I took a piece of cardstock that was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I embossed the whole thing and I added that to a pink card base. Since some of the hearts were pink, I thought it was a fun way to add a little bit more color into the card. So I put that onto a pink card base, and then I put the shaker panel on the card at an angle. I was having a hard time lining things up straight on this day, so whenever I can't get something straight, just make it super angled, and then it makes it look intentional and whimsical and fun, and I'm actually really happy with how it came out on this card. Now for the inside of the card, for the sentiment, I just stamped Happy Valentine's Day. You could use any stamp you want on the inside of the card. I happen to use the Perfect Fit Sentiments stamp set from the Ton. This is a retired stamp set, but again, any Valentine's Day sentiment would work here. This also had some fun little hearts, so I just stamped the hearts around the sentiment, and I used the same red ink that I used to stamp the You're the Sweetest sentiment on the front to tie everything together. So once I had completed the card, it was time to do the envelope. So I grabbed a red envelope from my stash. I believe this happens to be from Clear Bags. And I also grabbed a stencil. This is just a heart stencil in my stash. It's from Simon Says Stamp. I don't know the name of this stencil. I got it years ago. It is retired. I tried to find it on their website and I couldn't. But anything with hearts, you could also use a stamp set here if you don't have a stencil. But I just took some dark red ink, the same dark red that I used to do the ink blending on the bottom. And I just stenciled on some hearts on the bottom of the card. And I thought that made for a really nice little set. Although a quick reminder, make sure to check your envelope is going the right way before you stencil. I stenciled this envelope and then realized I had stenciled it upside down, so I had to do another one. Maybe I'll be able to use this for something else, who knows. So that is the card and coordinating envelope. I am so happy with how this turned out. I think it's fun and whimsical, and it reminds me so much of those conversation hearts I used to eat as a kid. Even as a kid, I was never a huge fan of how they tasted, but they were just so fun to eat. Do you guys still eat them? Do you like the way they taste? Let me know in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this inspires you to use the items you have in your stash to make a fun Valentine's Day card. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much on YouTube, and it helps other people to find my channel and join our crafty community. If you want to catch all the videos I put out, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you ring that notification bell, then you get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!